Welcome everyone to the Pick Six Podcast, where we discuss the biggest stories in college football. I'm your host, Chris Cheng, and as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, we've got no football this week, but we've got a ton of news. And first, I want to go over probably the biggest story this week so far. So far, Michigan is vying for the title, which we'll get into later this week. But the biggest story in college football has to be the Notre Dame crying Irish, just throwing the biggest temper tantrum in all of sports history. FSU for a little bit was throwing a temper tantrum and held the title of biggest temper tantrum in college football. But, Notre Dame said, hold my beer. Let me get in this. After being left out of the CFP, the Fighting Irish have gone on a whirlwind of just craziness that seems to be collecting every day. And I just think of their AD, Pete Bakvakwa. God, that guy's got a weird name. We're just gonna call him Pete, right? Pete woke up on Sunday and was interviewed, I think, by Heather Dinich, and she was like, "How are you doing? You doing better?" He's like, "No, I'm getting worse, and I think I'm gonna be worse tomorrow." And I genuinely kind of feel bad for the guy because this whole program is crashing out and crashing out hard. I mean, for a prestigious and elite and classy program that they pride themselves on, they're doing things that in one aspect are completely off brand, but at the same time, if you're not a Notre Dame fan, you're like, well, not surprised. This is Notre Dame. They are pretentious, and this is what they do, and they're entitled. And I think, in my opinion, the way they've carried themselves all week, the actions of skipping a bowl and saying, "Nah, that's not for us." It's childish. It's immature. It's honestly disgusting for the sport, especially for a program that likes to think of itself above other programs and think of itself in that elite class. I'm not sure how elite or prestigious this all is. I think there should be more adults in the room, realistically. I think when you have someone like Pete Baklava or Bavakwa um, acting the way he is and just going on these tirades each day, there just seems to be a new clip, a new release that he's constantly just basically kicking his feet and pouting on the floor, and it's horrific. I've seen my 4-year old acts better than this, and just to like not get too derailed, but like in our house, we talk about consequences, right? With my 3 little ones. And the fact that I'm actually even bringing this up when discussing Notre Dame and a 50 something year old man is ridiculous. But in our house, we talk about consequences, right? You do one thing, there's going to be a consequence, good, bad, or indifferent, right? But you have to accept whatever the consequence is because you chose your actions. You accepted what you did. And so you have to accept what you get. And for this narrative to come out of South Bend to say we were robbed, we were bamboozled, we were lied to. No, you were not. You believed and you created this story in your head to make yourself believe that, oh, we were going to go when you damn well knew that the entire CFP committee was not going to make its final decision till after all the games were done. Everything up until that point was fluid, malleable, and could change. They had said that since the very beginning. I don't even like the CFP committee, but I will at least acknowledge the fact that they said, hey, each week we're going to take the new data, we're going to watch the games from that week and determine each week where every team belongs. Now, with that said, I also want to bring up another kind of analogy. If you go and you check your bank account and there is mysteriously an extra 100 grand in there, doesn't say it's from you, your wife, your job, anything, just 100 grand accidentally plopped into your bank account. If you go out and you spend that money, you will be expected to pay that money back when they go to collect it, whether it's returning the items you bought, whether it's selling them, whatever the case may be. When the bank goes to ask for its money back, you're going to have to give it back. It's not like you can go, well, bad on you. I get to keep this money. And so I bring this up. I know, just follow me, guys. You're getting it's going a little off the rails, but I'm going to bring it back on. When you're Notre Dame and in week 1, you're 6-2 and you are ranked 8 spots ahead of another team you lost to who has the same 6-2 record, something in your head should have been like, that doesn't seem right. That seems a little bit off. I, I, I should probably not take this as seriously as I should. Also, considering the fact and knowing that this is all fluid and this could all change. As the weeks went on, as you and Miami continue to remain neck and neck, and then you see the media and others bring up the fact it's a little weird that head to head is one of the biggest criterias for the CFP, why that's not being considered. And then you hear from the committee, oh, well, we're waiting for them to get closer. And then each week you see this precipitous collision course occurring where the two programs are getting closer and closer. You should know at some point, yeah, the shtick is going to be up. We're probably going to get ranked behind them. And whether it's the last week, the first week, who cares? You didn't deserve it. It wasn't there. And so to me, it's an indictment on this program, Marcus Freeman, the staff, the administration, of just how bush league, how immature this program really is. I mean, the second you guys deal with a little bit of adversity, it's like, oh, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home. I don't want to play with you guys. And then you guys go out there. And if you think that Notre Dame wasn't reminding people, this wasn't the CFP, but we talk about this MOU, this memorandum of understanding that's going to take effect next year with Notre Dame in regards to them getting an automatic qualifying position. Like that is like the extra slap in the face to the rest of us in college sports where I understand you're upset. Okay, you can be upset. No one's telling you not to be upset. Maybe don't say you've been robbed and that you had the rug pulled under you because you know what it is. But then to know in your back pocket that it doesn't even matter after next year. After next year, you're as long as you're ranked in the top 12, you're automatically in. Like that to me is just the most egregious fact that came out this week is that we're going to throw this big temper tantrum even though this will never we know this will never happen to us moving forward. Like take your ball and don't go home. Like just take it, go to play your bowl game, be a man. Like where were the adults in the room? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like again, we're looking at the AD, we're looking at the head coach, and now there are conflicting reports. Some are saying that this actually came from leadership in the locker room in terms of players, that seniors were going to be opting out, that key and influential players on the team had kind of talked to the team and everyone had agreed we don't want to play this game. I think that's a lie, realistically. I think there are a few players on the team that probably didn't want to play. And I'm not going to deny that certain players are probably going to opt out, specifically seniors who will probably go to the NFL. But either way, that happens all of the time to every team. And so I just I'm not understanding where the adults were in this room. I mean, if you look at this, if this was Miami and Miami was the one getting screwed, and we were the ones who were like, "Hey, we're taking our ball and we're going home. We're not going to play in the playoffs." The media and the fandom would have a field day with Miami. They would just go berserk and just completely tear us down. But now that it's Notre Dame, oh, well, they have every right. And it's to me, this is not a knock to any of the pundits, but when I watch people interview people like Pete Bavakwa, and I watch people talk to Notre Dame fans or prominent former former Notre Dame players, it's really nauseating for me to watch them kind of kiss ass and to be like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry this happened to you. Like, oh, it's so terrible. What about the 2008 Texas team that beat Oklahoma and was left out of the national championship? What about the University of Georgia 2023 team that bamboozled and destroyed and mollywopped that FSU team that still is recovering to this day? What about the 2000 Miami team that literally should have been playing for a national championship? What did we all do? We all picked ourselves up by our bootstraps. We acknowledged that these things happen and we moved forward. but not Notre Dame. Not Notre Dame. What are you going to do? Like, if you think this is the worst, like, let's just approach this from the aspect of it being an issue from the players, right? And the players are like, well, we don't want to play anymore. Okay. Again, first, there should have been an adult in the room. There should have been a coach. Marcus, like, again, this is why I include Marcus Freeman and the administration in this, if it is, even if it is a player decision, because they should have been teaching their kids, hey, you got hit with some adversity. Hey, th- you were told one thing and you got another, or you were led to believe one thing and you got another. That is life. That is that is life. Do you think that this is going to be the only time in your life that you're going to approach a situation and it's going to go sideways, or that maybe new information is going to come out that's going to change what your expectations were? Like, if you think this is the only adversity you're going to face in life, my friend, like, get ready, because life's going to hit you like a Mack truck, and probably from behind, not even from the side. You won't even get a periph view of it. Like, it's just going to knock you down. And I'm not saying this to be callous or to be cold. I want to speak very matter of fact. This is how I would speak to my sons. I mean, if my sons were on Notre Dame, I would be like, no, 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 son, you need to get in that locker room and you need to not only speak life into these people, but you need to encourage these players to not accept this. In terms of, like, when I say accept this, accept like quitting, accept not playing in a bowl game, you know? And it's funny, there's this phrase that kind of was made famous by one of my favorite players on the team right now, Malachi Tony. He's got Gabos on his face, and it basically stands for the game ain't based on sympathy. And it's not. Like, you play, and whatever your record says you are is what you get. And if you don't like that, then you get better. Like, that is literally the foundation of sports. Like I said before, it rewards winners and it forces losers to go back and get better and to work on their craft or their whatever it is that they're in that they lose at. And so to me, it's like, we all know the system has failed. There's not a single system in this world that is flawless, that is perfect. There is some sort of kink, there is some sort of error that you're going to have to overlook, get past, and move on from. But for them to sit there and say, we're not going to play BYU, which, by the way, that would have been blockbuster. You could have even done like a thing like Mormons versus Catholics. Like, there's so many things that you could have given. And to me, this is the this is one of the hardest things to, like, try and understand. If it was player based, it's like, man, you have seniors on this team who will absolutely never play a day in the NFL ever. This is their last opportunity to play a sport they love. And listen, I played high school ball. I was told that at a very early age, you're going D2 at best, you know? And then I said, you know what? Football's probably not for me then. Why get run over by a bunch of D1 guys, right? When I know it's probably not my future. But either way, like, you make it, you get to an amazing university as Notre Dame. Why wouldn't you want to play one more week? And then on the coaching side, why not get those practices in? Like, again, you got a young freshman quarterback. I cannot see the detriment in getting extra reps and building chemistry, and just, there's so many things that go into bowl season. And again, I'm not saying that bowls matter and that bowls are crucial to the sport. I think they play a part and they are important to a certain extent, but realistically, there is a value for teams, especially when you're carrying players over to the next year. Now, I understand the transfer portal. We don't know who's going to be on Notre Dame next year. They might have some new guys coming in who may be filling in roles that they won't be able to fill in this bowl. Obviously, maybe you get a true freshman and he comes in and immediately plug and play. So there's a dynamic you're going to have to work out in the fall. But either way, I still think practices are still good. I think the experience, traveling to a city, getting some days off, getting to get that bowl attention, getting those prizes, getting those gifts. I think these are things that I think of myself as a 20 something year old. That would be awesome, man. I mean, granted, these are kids from Notre Dame, so Lord knows what families they come from. And so maybe going to some random town or going to Orlando is not prestigious when they spend their summers in Italy. I don't know. But to me, I just don't understand why these kids, if it is the kids, are being allowed to quit. An adult should have encouraged. I don't even know. We're going to get into in a few minutes the Marcus Freeman aspect of all of this, but just as a coach, like I don't tell my kids to quit anything. Like they're just getting into video games now, and my rule is like you can't play video games if you're going to quit. Like in my day, there was no saving. There was you had one chance to beat the game, and that was it. And in the same instance, like we're raising these tissue paper kids up. It's like we're giving participation trophies out. Like no, you lose. You will not win them all. And just because you got left out, it does not give you a right. Now, even in the process, like people keep focusing on the process. Like the process was flawed. You knew that already. And here's another aspect that I want you guys to think about. Do you think Pete and Notre Dame were left out of any of these meetings in the offseason of how the playoff is going to be conducted and constructed moving forward? No. They're actually not even every president gets to be involved or every AD, but Notre Dame does. And so for Pete to walk out and do all these interviews and to do these press conferences, which I kind of want to break down and add my little things to it here and there, it's honestly you're insulting our intelligence. You helped make the rules, and now you're pissed because the rules that you made are not beneficial to you. And again, I want to look at, you know, this presser he did on Monday or Tuesday, I think it was. And this guy literally just you see some people and you're like, "Bro, what where are you in all of this? Like what made you think this was a good idea?"
To do this. You're only 18 to 22 for so long. There are only so many seasons. There are hundreds of seasons in the history of Notre Dame football, and hopefully there'll be hundreds of more seasons. But it's a finite amount of time in these kids' lives. And they put everything they had into it and positioned themselves and thought they did everything they needed to do. And it was just the ultimate gut punch to know that this team doesn't get to proceed and try to play for a national championship.
Yeah, that's my whole point. They only get so many opportunities, so why not give them another opportunity? Like he goes on to say, a lot of these kids were expecting to play one more game. They thought they had one more game in them. And it's like, okay, well, then give them the game. Give them the game. Let them go play BYU. Again, this would have been a great matchup. It would have been one of the, okay, so let's be real too. Like, I'm not trying to like poo poo on the sport, but outside of the CFP, there are maybe what, 4 or 5 good bowl games that we get in the bowl season now because there's so many where we've literally watered down bowl season. This would have been one of the 5 great bowl games that we would have gotten. We would have gotten 2 teams that were left out of the CFP who were contenders at one point, even going into the final week, playing it. You had, like I said, you have the whole, you could have done instead of Catholics versus convicts, you could have Catholics versus Mormons. It would have been a beautiful thing. You would have had 2 formerly, or because fun fact, BYU was an independent team just a couple years ago. Now they're not. They're a part of a conference. Maybe you should join a conference, Notre Dame. But give them that opportunity. I just think to me, it's why are we sitting here and we're acting like, oh man, like the season's over. We can't do anything about it. Boo hoo us. And it's no, you give them that opportunity. Nothing ever happened there. The season is not over. You can go on. And then he goes on to this other aspect I kind of wanted to talk to you about damage with the ACC.
But what we were really surprised by and disappointed was how the ACC conference really went on a social media campaign, in my opinion, attacking our football program. Miami.
Listen, the ACC didn't attack you. Again, there's this narrative of, oh, we're victims. You're not a victim. The ACC did what the ACC needed to do, protect its programs. Simple as that. Maybe if you were in a conference, you would understand this concept and this wouldn't be so weird to you. But ACC was doing what you're doing, but they're in the right. Miami was the better team. It was proven it was the better team. They were being ignored for 5 weeks. And given this stupid excuse of, well, they're not close enough, they're not butting up against each other, so we're not going to figure in head to head. Like, again, going back to the bank account thing, you already knew you were spending someone else's money. It's time to give it back. Stop saying the ACC attacked you. The ACC never attacked you. They protected their programs, and they simply just highlighted. They never addressed Notre Dame. We simply put our resume up, and they showed the Notre Dame game just in case these people didn't watch it. And here's a fun fact: Brett Yormark, or Mark Yormark, whatever the guy's name is, who was or Yurachek, who's the committee chairman, even said, like, we were forced to go back and rewatch the game again. And when you watch that game, it's not indicative of the score. It's not like it's not that game was not won by 3 points. To me, that game, I was there. That was more of like a 35-17, maybe 35-21 game at like best, realistically. Like the two programs are not equal, even in development, even in looking at how Notre Dame has grown and how Miami's grown. I don't think we're equals, and we're not. Hopefully we can prove that. But we're going to be playing in the Who's Your Daddy Bowl in round one, and Notre Dame has to kind of get over that. And so for them to sit there and say, that we were just flabbergasted and mystified by what the ACC was doing, and now this is going to lead to irreparable damage. Miss me with that, man. What are you going to do? Leave? Who else is going to want to play with you? No one, because no one's going to give you the deal the ACC did, which is be in our conference in all sports except for hockey and football. Like, no one cares about hockey in the SEC or Big Ten, maybe the Big Ten, but in the SEC, so that's going to be meaningless to them. But in football, no, 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 no. You are either all in, you are either 10 toes in or 10 toes out. And the fact that the ACC was as nice as they were to let you have this stupid deal that literally only benefited you. He goes on in the presser to talk about how, oh, when the ACC doesn't have Notre Dame, they only sell 23%, sell out 23% of the time, but they're 90% of the time when Notre Dame. No, miss me with that. It's just because it's a big game. If it was Texas, if it was Alabama, if it was insert any big program, Ohio State, those games would sell out in the ACC too. Just because your Notre Dame is not the reason why these games are selling out. It's because you're a big program. And we can fill you in with, like I said, Ohio State. We could fill you in with Michigan. We could fill any of them. You're not that big of a deal. Next, I want to highlight this other portion. He um, talks about being lied to, and this was just like, guys, come on.
To our team than what happened was. Because if you wake up every day for 5, 6 weeks and say, you're in, you're in, you're in, and what you do in response to that is you win in dominant fashion, 70 points, 50 points, 49, I mean, just week in and week out. And you have Jeremiah and Jadarian, they look like they're out of the matrix, and it just everything going well. And then you wake up on Sunday and you're in a room with these 18 to 22-year-olds who are like, all right, are we ninth? Are we 10th? Let's get to practice. Let's get going. Let's win a national championship. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. You know what? There was a game where a team went through it and fourth down. That ought to mean something.
Again, this can easily be overlooked. But why does Pete think he's the only program that's experienced this? In the 11 or 12 years we've had the college football playoff, there have been dozens of teams that have been left out, that have been told you're here or there, and this is why you're missing. I go back to Georgia 2023, the number one seed, the most dominant team in college football at that time. They lose to Alabama and are left out. You don't think that they, after coming off back to back championships, weren't like, WTF, mate? Like, what? No, like, you're not the only program who's gone through this. You're not the only program who feels like they are qualified to be in something and doesn't make it. And not only that, but here's again a horrible part of looking at this. You can Vegas can say whatever they want. You're not a team that would actually win the national championship. And I know that's a super hot take because Vegas odds all say Notre Dame would be favored against any team. I've been watching, and anyone who will agree with me will probably say the same thing. I don't think Notre Dame could win the national championship. They went last year and were mollywopped by Ohio State. And I think if it was Texas last year that they played instead of Ohio State, the same thing would have happened. Like you're mid, bro, and that's okay. I'm not Josh Pate. I'm not upset that I don't have 2 million followers, right? Or 3 million followers. It is what it is. Like I'm building this channel. But for imagine if I was just like as a person, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this podcast anymore because you know why? Josh Pate is getting all this attention and blah, 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 blah. No, you go out and you compete and you get better. And you just weren't good enough this year. The two teams that you had to beat to get into the CFP, you didn't beat. And you played a bunch of mediocre other teams. And congratulations, you did what you were supposed to do. You beat them by a lot of points. That's what you're supposed to do. And going back to the beginning of this soundbite, imagine for 5 weeks you're being lied to. Let's use a little empathy. Imagine you're Miami and you in that first ranking, you're told you're 8 spots lower than the team you beat. And then every week after that, you go out, you dominate, you win, and you're still told, nope, you're 2 spots, 3 spots, 4 spots lower than the team you beat. Oh, by the way, that team you beat that is ranked higher than you is playing the same teams you are, and you're beating them by more. Like, what about those players? Like, you act like you're the only one who was lied to in this entire process. You weren't. You weren't. And not only that, you weren't lied to. Again, going back to the original thing about the CFP, these are fluid. These are just honestly, it's for ratings. It's a TV show. And the fact that this guy couldn't discern that and tell his players or tell Marcus Freeman, hey, like, let's just all remember this is not final. This is fluid and this is going to change. Like, what are we doing? And then he goes on right here to talk about like how Notre Dame takes this
To be
seriously.
fixed because, I said it yesterday. We take this very seriously at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman takes this very seriously. Our coaches, our student athletes, our administration. These rankings, and I said it, so I'm repeating myself, but they can't be a game of musical chairs at a fifth grade birthday party. And that's what it felt like to us.
Okay. So fix it. You're in the room. You are a part of the process of figuring out how the CFP is going to be constructed, what the rules are, what the policies are going to be, what the criteria is. Solidify those things. And then the thing is, they have. They just don't like that the rules were applied to them. And then again, like we're sitting here trying to act like Notre Dame is this victim and that they were left out. No, guys, you guys not only stacked the deck in your favor, you stacked it even more in your favor by having this MOU for next year, for the next 6 years. Oh, by the way, that's not just for 1 year. That's not like, oh, well, we kind of screwed up this year. And, as a consolation, Notre Dame, next year, if you're in the top 12, you're automatically, no, it's for 6 years, which by the way is so convenient that correlates with the next batch of media rights, TV rights being sold and re-signed. So it's like, again, join a conference, stop pouting, stop being babies, and grow up. Like at the end of the day, grow up. What is this other one I wanted to look at? He talks about it being the right decision to opt out.
It's going to have a great event here in town just to kind of let their hair down tomorrow. That was the decision. And it was a decision that I applaud. And I think it was a hard decision. I think they knew it was going to be a hard decision. I think they knew it was going to be a decision that not everybody was going to love. But it was the right decision for this team at this moment. I'm positive of that. And does that mean
By the way, the person who was recording this typing the whole time, I'm like, sweet baby Jesus, mute your mic. It was so annoying watching this press conference. But I can't disagree with Pete more. I think this was the wrong decision. And the fact that you support each other, it is like this echo chamber of just loserdom and loser thinking and horrible thinking. And there have been plenty of Irish fans who have come out. I haven't seen many do the opposite, but We support this team. They're in the right. They should opt out. They should quit. They should do this. And it's just like, are you all losers? Is there like loser 101, like victim mentality 102? Like what are they teaching at Notre Dame? Because I'm pretty sure none of this is classy. None of this is what a prestigious university or program should be doing. And then so, you do a little digging, and again, they blame it on the kids, right? Because that's the easy thing to do. Oh, well, the kids are just so heartbroken, they just they had to take a break. They needed a break, and so they didn't want to opt on the bowl. And then you talk about this little tidbit. You find this out because this was something that's been circulating, but for Stu Gatz and for the Bear and Israel Gutierrez, I'm not sure if you know who he is. He's this guy down here. He's a famous reporter and sports writer to talk about this aspect of why Notre Dame may have been left out.
Why do you think Notre Dame opted out of their bowl? I believe it's because Marcus Freeman is interviewing with the New York Giants. What do you think?
You said that, not me.
Well, I know. I said, listen, I said, I think. I have no inside information. I mean, Joe Shane's a friend, but he didn't tell me anything. So,
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of smoke there. That popped up on like Cal and stuff, and then I think there was one of the Giants beat reporters even like made that joke on Twitter yesterday about like yeah, good Notre Dame's out now, gives Marcus Freeman more time to interview for the job for the Giants to come up with the money to pay Notre Dame to let him out of his deal. So
poor Golix.
yeah, I there.
Like when you think of this being an aspect of why they opted out, this is again, remember I was talking about guys, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Could this be the reason? Because they're afraid Marcus Freeman is going to, not only is Jeremiah Love and some of these other crucial seniors going to be opting out, but what about Marcus Freeman leaving? Like, again, it's a story that keeps on giving. It just doesn't stop. But all still points back to the fact that this is a dumpster fire of a program and of an institution. Like, get your ducks in order, get your ish together. Like, teams lose coaches all the time. You've got two G5 programs who know their coaches are leaving and they're still getting it in. Like, you've got Ole Miss losing their coach. Like, again, I understand it's a CFP, but it's one game. It's a bowl game. Get it together. But I did love this. Brett Yormark of the Big 12 had this to say about the whole situation, which to me was chef's kiss.
I will say this, and I'm a little outspoken about it. I don't like how Notre Dame's reacted to it.
Cheers.
So
Okay,
Pete
I think his behavior has been egregious. It's been egregious going after Jim Phillips when they saved Notre Dame during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
We all knew, and it was very transparent. Hunter was very transparent about it, the chair, that as Notre Dame and Miami got closer together, head-to-head would be a factor. Okay? BYU lost. They became closer together, head-to-head made a difference in that decision. So I think he is totally out of bounds in his approach, and if he was in the room, I'd tell him the same thing.
Now, listen, let's keep it a buck real quick, okay? If Notre Dame does follow through with this whole like there's permanent damage done with the ACC, and not right now, Alex. And let's just say they want to leave the ACC. We know Brett's going to take them. We know Brett's going to do whatever he can to try and get a similar deal done. That's the only other conference that's realistically going to take Notre Dame seriously. But again, even this morning, there's rumors now of a freeze out for Notre Dame scheduling. Like because of what Notre Dame's doing, the way they're carrying themselves, the way they're opting out of this bowl, there are reports of schools removing them from future things like Auburn. And there is a potential freeze out of future bowl games where if you choose to opt out of a bowl game in subsequent seasons, you may be banned from postseason play. Now, whether that's the CFP, whether that's the Bulls, I actually wouldn't be surprised if that the latter of those two came true. I'm not sure because scheduling is that's a little bit more concrete. It's harder to remove people from your schedule unless it's years out. But the postseason ban I could see being a thing because with Notre Dame doing this opting out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, you're seeing other teams do it as well. And when you have a team like Notre Dame, despite what I may feel about them, you have other schools following in suit. Granted, not in the same position where they're 10-2. We're talking about teams that are 5-7 who have probably already sent their teams home or have already lost coaches like Kansas State. But you could do really irreparable damage to the bowl system. And I think these groups tend to congregate together. People who are in charge of bowls are on the CFP committee and vice versa, or they float between both positions. And I could definitely see people getting rubbed the wrong way with this and saying, "Hey, we can't allow the convicts to take control of the prison, and we need to maintain control, and we need to get all this under control." And so, if they do that, I would actually love to see that. I think this whole opting out thing is ridiculous, mainly for the pure fact that like when players opt out, I'm like, okay, you're going to opt out for this bowl, but you would play in the CFP. And then the argument is, oh, well, the CFP means more than a bowl. Well, at the end of the day, you're injured. You're injured. If you're afraid you're going to get injured in a bowl game, what happens if you get injured in a CFP game? You think an NFL team is going to sit there and go, oh, well, it was this type of game, not this type of game that they played in. No, you're injured. You're injured. So just go out and ball. It's ridiculous to me that these kids quit and that they want to opt out and say, I'm not going to play and I'm not going to do this. And they're going to leave their team hanging. Like, it's against everything in sport. That's a selfish way of thinking. And here's another aspect of the Notre Dame thing that really irked me. And I'm really mad I didn't say this earlier because most of you probably haven't made it this far. But Notre Dame talks about, oh, this has done irreparable damage to the ACC. What about the irreparable damage you've done to the ACC? Because you had no problem stealing 2 QBs from 2 ACC schools. You had no problem with taking an elite wide receiver from Virginia and Malachi Fields. So you have this issue with the ACC, but you don't have an issue with stealing their players. Okay, and let's keep it a buck too. A lot of SEC and Big Ten schools raid the ACC like a lot of G4 programs do, like a lot of P4 programs do to the G5. So again, I'm not trying to say one is better than the other, one is worse than the other, but let's just keep a buck. And if you can't sit there and say my hands are clean and that we're the victims when you're not the victims. You knew what it was. You knew that the hens were going to come home to roost. And it is what it is. And this is such a bad look for the university. Like, and these poor kids who won't get another opportunity, that won't get these memories, that won't get these experiences. Those are the kids I feel bad for. The people who didn't get voices, who didn't get their opportunities that they deserved. And so my only hope in this is that there is some sort of punishment for the Irish, because I think if left unchecked, we can see other schools doing this. And my biggest fear, which I don't care, but I fear for people who play for that school, who are part of that program, is what if this becomes an FSU 2.0? You know, when FSU let all their, and that's the thing, at least FSU showed up to get their ass kicked by Georgia. But when a lot of those players quit out, whether you believe it or not, the team's never been the same since. Whether it's staff or players, whichever aspect you want to look at, the team's never. This could be really bad for Notre Dame moving forward. You know, and if I'm sending my kid to a school, I don't know if I want to send them to a school that's going to quit. I don't know if I want to send them to a school that's going to allow their players to make decisions that are immature and completely emotional. You know, you got to really remove the emotional decision. You can't make a permanent decision based on a temporary circumstance. You know what I mean? And I just think what Notre Dame did is just so out of pocket. And again, when we cover the Michigan story, I'm sure I'll probably have another caveat to add to this. But like, this thing keeps going on. Someone needs to take Pete, shove him in a closet, let him get to working on other sports in the program, and just don't let him talk. And then try and save, hopefully, Marcus Freeman, who might be going to the Giants accordingly. Well, guys, we have made it to the end of another episode. I know we only focused on one thing. It was the biggest story this week, but we will have more. We're going to talk about the Michigan issue, because that is just every second. That thing is just blowing up. Looks crazy. Be good, y'all. Win the week. Next week, we're going to have our preview for week 1, round 1 fight of the playoffs. We'll see you guys in the next video. Be good.